let them in.
Hi, everybody. We're so glad you're here tonight. We have another 5 wonderful parents. We're excited to hear their story. Our mission, Helping Parents Heal, is a nonprofit organization dedicated to assisting bereaved parents to become shining light parents by providing support and resources to aid in the healing process. We go a step beyond other groups by allowing the open discussion of spiritual experiences and evidence for the afterlife in a non-dogmatic way. Affiliate groups welcome everyone, regardless of religious or non-religious background, and allow for open dialogue. Attendance today at the Helping Parents Heal meeting is voluntary, and we are here for the benefit of learning from and sharing with other parents whose child has passed away. It is understood that our discussions are intended to be confidential and not designed to replace traditional therapy or spiritual counseling. However, these Zoom meetings are very healing to parents all over the world, and they are all posted on YouTube so that affiliate members who are not in our time zone can also watch. Helping Parents Heal offers a wide variety of speakers to allow parents to be informed about many possible ways to heal, to connect with their children, and to learn about the afterlife. The views expressed by our guests do not necessarily reflect those of Helping Parents Heal, and we ask that you take from their presentations whatever may benefit you personally. So welcome, everybody. Mark, all yours.
Thank you very much, Lynn. And again, I want to thank you publicly. You've actually put in many more hours than I have with everything you've done. So thank you so much.
Well, we've been a good team, and thank you for all you've done too. So I've enjoyed it.
And I hope you can forgive me for volunteering you.
I've gotten over it.
All right. Well, welcome everyone. This is the last set of interviews. I think this is 29 or something. We started this in early October. So Lynn and I maybe are a little punchy, but I think we got one more in us. So you're going to meet this evening some shining light parents. And I hope you've heard the term that refers to parents who, perhaps like you, deeply grieving after one or more children passed. We've had one mom that had all 5 of her children change worlds. Wow. And of course, all the initial pain and sadness and guilt and anger and understandable, what we call lower energy emotions. But over time, in a number of different ways, and you're going to hear some of the ways this evening, they were able to reach for a higher feeling thought. They learned that it was a moment by moment choice, that they could sense their beloved children and spirit better when they were focused on higher energy emotions and ways of being: peace, joy, love, gratitude, enlightenment, etc. And these are some of the most amazing parents you'll meet. Now, this doesn't mean their lives are always perfect. They still get sad at times, especially around holidays, anniversaries. Last Friday's interviews, one of the moms just cried her heart out, and she's a shining light parent. She's leading the team for creating the book, and yet she said she was just going through one of those times. And but for the most part, much more peace and joy and so on. And I really think that this group, much like near death experiencers, offer a real hope for not only helping yourself, others, but our world. And I think it's possible in our lifetime we could reach a tipping point. So, wouldn't that be a meta meaning for your child's life and passing if we could turn the tide here and have world peace? So, something to work toward. So, if you want to learn more about that journey from, excuse me, deeply grieving to shining light, see article number 82 at my website, soulproof.com. Now, before we start the interviews, I want to share some important resources. We being Lynn and Elizabeth and I, created these on the same page. So if you go to helpingparentsheal.org and then select the top tab that says YouTube videos, and then right below it, affiliate leader, caring listener interviews, you'll see a picture of Lynn and I, and then you'll see all the videos done so far. So you can watch them on YouTube. Then you'll see a link to affiliate groups, so you can find a local group near you, hopefully, and if not, consider starting one when the time is right. You'll see a link about caring listeners, and we have 2 of them with us this evening. 35 or so wonderful parents who are willing at no charge to listen, to share what worked for them, to help you get through this. And that can be an ongoing service over time. So proud of that group. You'll see a link to calendar of online events, 1 or more events almost every weekday evening that you can join, so you can expand your circle of people who understand, and they can help you heal and transform. You'll see links to 4 videos that I presented, classes containing the 4 most powerful transformational audios, and you'll see them listed and can learn about each one of those. Then a list of the most commonly recommended articles that I recommend every day to parents around the world. And then finally, links to my radio shows, interviews I did with top experts in afterlife, consciousness, meaning of life. So all those resources are there. And if there's something else you need, let us know. There's a huge team of people with Helping Parents Heal. Our saying now is, if you can't walk on your own, we'll carry you until you can. And then you can help others similarly. So now you know about those resources. With that, we're starting off this evening with Mabel. And tell us, please, about your dear one, your Leo.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you for all the work you are doing. My son Leo is my only child. He was and still is incredible. He was vibrant and energetic, loved to learn, excelled in school, and in whatever he's interested in doing, like playing music. He was kind and helpful. He was talented and yet humble. He was and still is passionate about making this world a better place. There's nothing usual about Leo. He would say and do the things that never cease to amaze us. When he was 8, he suddenly said to me behind my back, "Mom, do you know our mother and son bond would never be broken?" I was speechless. When he was in grade 3, well, I'm going to give you a couple of examples of how unusual he was. When he was in grade 3, he was bullied. And he stood up for himself and advocated for the others who were too scared to say anything. The teacher didn't believe in him because the teacher was the one who appointed this little bully to be the monitor. So I was quite frustrated. I didn't know what to do. One day he brought him a piece of paper with the signature on a written statement from the little bully. So literally admitting to his wrongdoing. It happened again in grade 8. In both instances, he got the signatures of the bullies, which are equivalent to admitting to the crime. So I think that is really beyond what somebody, a child of his age, or even an adult could have done. Well, about his passing, you want to know about his passing, right?
If you want to share.
Well, actually, I have more to say before talking about his changing worlds. We wouldn't have known about what I call compassion in action. If not for the few young people who came out to tell us about what Leo had done for them, they told us that Leo reached out to them when they were struggling with loneliness, depression, and one almost died of an eating disorder. They told us that Leo reached out to them, offered them kindness and caring, and because of that, because of his friendship, they have hope, and it helped them heal.
Beautiful.
So I think it was also very generous because another girl from high school told me Leo turned around and helped those who bullied him. Well, he was studying political science with a 4-year scholarship of excellence at the University of Victoria here in Canada when suddenly bacterial meningitis took his human life. We were in the ICU with him for 5 nights. And we had to make the most heartbreaking decision to let him go. Knowing that he was waiting for us to give him permission to leave his body. It was and still is very surreal to me, even now.
What year was that, Mabel, when he changed worlds?
He was 19 years old, and that was 12 years ago.
And I do have some hearing loss. So did you say he passed on by suicide?
No, bacterial meningitis.
Huh. Okay, my apology, bacterial. Yeah, there's a big difference. Okay, thank you for that. Well, first of all, thank you for making clear what so many parents have, that these are special children. And that's one big reason why they didn't have to be on Earth for a long time. I mean, look at that beautiful picture of him, that smile, and their eyes. And so you said a number of the things that so many parents have: compassion in action. Beautiful way to put it. So that helps explain one reason why they didn't have to do the, Earth is a tough place to be, and they didn't have to do the long Earth school. They were already advanced. So tell us, dear, how did you first find about helping parents heal, and how did it help you?
I think Leo connected us. He guided me first to Suzanne Giesemann. And it was a few years later, I was reading one of her articles, and she mentioned about helping parents heal and Elizabeth. So I got connected with Elizabeth. That was already about 5 years after Leo's transition. So I was a latecomer.
Mm-hmm. And tell us then, how did you know it's time for you to start serving, and tell us about how you are doing that, please.
Well, actually, when I met Elizabeth in Arizona, she invited me to be an affiliate leader. Mm-hmm. At that time, I didn't feel that I was ready. And when she invited me to be a caring listener, I knew that it's my time to offer my service. I have been talking with many different parents anyway, with or without that hat as a caring listener. Mm-hmm. I know that I have been further down the road on the journey. I've gained quite a bit of experience and insights, and Leo has been guiding me anyway when I work with other parents. I know that I can relate to and empathize with what they are going through. Because this is the hardest, most challenging path that we have to walk on. And we all need somebody.
Yes.
We don't have to do it alone. I feel very confident that I can be of service. I know that I always speak from my heart and my soul. I listen and I speak. whatever I needed to, whatever I'm guided to. I was trained as a clinical social worker, but I don't really have to wear that hat when I talk to other shining light parents.
Mhm. I love the way you're keeping your hand on your heart chakra, by the way. So important. So, what have you learned? How can you best sense Leo's living presence?
Oh, I feel him all the time, like right now. He's charging me up with all that high energy.
Mm.
Mom, you can do it.
Nice.
And he knows that I love talking about him. Only that with the time limitation, I have to be very cautious and careful about not overdoing it. The signs and synchronicities are so abundant that I was able to write a book called The Infinite Bond. And that was the other thing I left out just now. When he was 8 years old, he told me, yeah, I think I did. I'm forgetful.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah.
The name is called The Infinite Bond, My Son's Messages from Across the Veil.
Beautiful. Do you have the book in front of you? Can you show the cover?
Yeah, just a minute.
Oh, beautiful. I love it. So what else, for other parents, what tips can you share about how they might sense their children?
His signs and messages come so naturally. I don't even have to ask.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's his responses to my questions. And sometimes it's him helping me out of predicaments. And they always are very helpful and healing. And he made it very clear that he wanted me to share this with other parents. So I keep writing and sharing them on the website of Helping Parents Heal. And I'm very grateful when other parents, the readers, told me that they find the signs and messages comforting, inspiring, and uplifting.
Great.
Now, going back to your question, I know that I have to answer your question. What is it again, Mark?
Well, we're actually moving into what are 3 things you've learned that you'd like to pass on to other parents?
Sure. I'm speaking to especially the newer ones, the new members, the ones who are starting out on this journey. I want to tell you guys that you might not think that it's possible to heal because of the pain you are struggling with. But I can assure you that healing is possible. Healing is not forgetting. For me, healing is having more peace than pain. But it takes a lot of work. It takes time, it takes patience. It takes a lot of self-care and support. And you can get this from Helping Parents Heal. The second one, I think they're all interrelated. You've all heard that love is the most powerful force in the universe. My husband CK and I have witnessed this truth. Love, the love for our son and for all the other young people out there has helped us turn pain into purpose.
Nice.
Our purpose was 12 years ago to raise awareness about the vaccine that has been made available, that was available, but was not made known to the public and not made known to Leo when he asked for it. It's the vaccine that can save lives of young people from this special strain of bacterial meningitis. So we raised awareness. We know that we cannot bring Leo back in his physical life, but we can protect other young people. We can prevent other families from suffering a similar tragedy. And it was because of love that we believe, has moved mountains for us. And that vaccine has been made available to all grade 9 students since 2016. So Leo continues to save lives through his exit.
Good. So you found the meaning to that, which
Yes.
leads us to the last question, Mabel, and that is, what's your belief about there being a timing and a meaning to how Leo changed worlds?
I have no doubt, Mark, that my husband and I and Leo have agreed to this before our current life, our current incarnation. Because when I look back, I have all these years to contemplate, and all the pieces fit together like a puzzle. I know that because of our love for him, with him, we agreed to do this. The timing of our coming in, of his coming in and his leaving his body, that's all divinely orchestrated. I can tell you one interesting thing. Leo was born on August 10th, which is 8/10, and his time of passing was exactly 8/10, according to the nurses who reported it to us. So there's no coincidence.
And for parents who want to learn more about what Mabel's describing, you can see my article number 25 at soulproof.com called Pre-Birth Planning. Did I really choose all this? Well, thank you very much, Mabel. Beautiful, and I'm glad to meet you more in person, and thanks for being one of the caring listeners.
Thank you for giving me the chance to share about Leo, and thank you to all of you for listening.
Lainey, you are up next, please. And tell us about your dear Kevin, his life and passing. Can you unmute her? Lower left corner, click on the microphone icon.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry. Kevin was born in California, 1997, and very handsome kid. He was very athletic, very loving kid. He loves older people, always comfortable older people. I always like to talk to them. Everywhere you go, you talk to older people. He loved his family, his brother, his dog, all of us. To the end, he was very interested in history, specifically how people lived and people's struggles. He was very empathetic, very sensitive kid. And I hear my bell, and I got very emotional because I keep finding and organizing pictures and a little bit of what's left what we kept from one house to another anyway. So I kept a little artwork or a few things from school, and I was reading a few things that Kevin left behind. It's from 3rd grade. So, well, if I had the money, I would distribute them to all the poor. If I can do anything to help people, I would distribute the money to all the poor, and so on. So many signs that his character was so loving, and yeah, a wonderful son. And unfortunately, he was diagnosed with cancer in December 2014. And after 3 years and a half struggling, he finally transitioned in June 2018. And yeah, it's, yeah.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing that. And how did you find about helping parents heal, and how were they able to help you initially?
Well, it was a very interesting journey through them. I during the times that Kevin's struggling, and we tried to find alternative treatments, hypnotherapists and books, anything that could help in learning about well, life and his disease and all that. I took him to a healer in Brazil, and I took Kevin to a healer in Brazil, and over there they put him into this set of lights, crystal lights. They're supposed to align and energize the chakras.
Is that John of
And-
God?
I'm sorry?
John of God?
Yes, yes. So I learned there that there were those what they call crystal beds in the US. And I came home to California and I look it up, and there's one in my town where we lived. So I hooked up with this person, which was a wonderful woman. We became friends. She helped me immensely. She was an angel. I believe she was sent by my mother, actually, who already passed. So she gives me books and we talk about different things. And through her, I get to know a little bit of a place called Omega, most people know. And I heard Suzanne Guzman talk there about HPH. And immediately I thought, this is what I'm looking for. This is what I want. And I got in touch and decided that there wasn't one where we live here near. So I got one mother from the group that were attending at the time. And she helped out. We started the group with 8 people, including Babette.
Beautiful. And now do you have a group now? And is that in Brazil or?
Yeah, since we moved from California to Brazil, we started a group, a Brazilian chapter, but we still haven't had anybody coming to the group, which I talked to Don Richards at the conference about that, and she encouraged me to do it anyway, but I thought, well, it's going to be a hard one because of culture, different things. People still struggle so much, and so much in the survival and all the traumas and the suffering, it's kind of put aside. And plus, we have the reputation of being a happy people, so people carry that as you can't be sad. So it's hard, but we're there waiting. People come.
Yeah, and make sure you're in touch with Elizabeth and others so they can help you get the word out more.
Yeah.
So
And
what have you learned in the years since about how you can optimally sense Kevin's presence?
well, I wish I could say I speak to him and I hear him like a lot of people do, as clear as other people, but I talk to him all the time, and I get signs. I believe in them, and I think the love we feel for each other, the love he feels for his family, the love we feel for him, it would never go away. It still exists, and I feel his love all the time. I may not talk to him, not hear him, but I feel his love. The love is the only certain thing that I have. The only sure truth.
Yes. So tell us, give us an example of a sign that you've received from him.
I got little things all the time, crossing the street, and I look down, there are a bunch of coins there, they're so shiny, they're saying, well, okay, you need to notice me. I go to the beach and there's little shells that are in the form of a heart, and birds everywhere. It almost, I feel like the birds are talking to me and listening to me.
Well, none of the parents should compare their perceptions with others. In other words, each parent's a little bit different. Some will see, hear, feel, know. And so, however that comes in, sometimes you can sense your child in a dream.
Yeah.
We know that some of those dream visits are really visits based on the evidence from them. So, yeah, whatever. And my sense is that you two have such a love bond that maybe
Right.
he knows that you don't need a lot of visits and signs.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, we have so many moments to live this love in such a raw and deep uh, uh, presence. For instance, we're one event that we're at the hospital, and the doctor and nurse with us in this final days of treatment. And I was sitting behind him in his bed and massaging his back, and I was not letting him see, but I was crying and talking to him all the same. And when the doctors were leaving, doctor and nurse leaving the room, they were in tears. And later on, they told me, so we could basically touch the love. It was so strong,
Wow.
such a presence. So you can't deny that. Still going.
Yeah, well, that's very powerful. So,
Yeah.
some things you've learned, Lainey, that you'd like to pass on to other parents in this video.
Well, yeah. Well, when I first learned about the group and what motivates me to actually reach out and try to form a group was because what we're learning, what I was learning there was so powerful. The acceptance, the fact that you have a place that you can be and you can talk, you can cry, and you're not being judged. And the same time, a place that you encourage to grow. That's so important. So what I wish that parents learn or to know is that they're not alone, and we still can live our lives and honor our kids doing something that please us, or help others, or just be. It's important to learn, I think, that everything that happened for a reason that would happen anyway. So it's not your fault. That same thing. It is nothing you could have done, or you did what you have to do. And yeah.
Well put. Thank you. And then the last question, you just commented on it. What are your beliefs about there being a timing and a meaning behind the way Kevin passed?
Yeah, well, I do believe that he chose us as his parents. He chose the life that he would have here. We all agreed on that beforehand. So his soul plan, our soul plan. So I believe that, and I accept that, and I'm very thankful and very happy to be his mother. And I promise him I will do anything in my power to figure out my purpose is here and to honor his existence. So I've been trying to do that.
Well, it sounds like you are. That's a lot of meaning. Well, thank you very much for sharing, Lainey. Excellent.
Thank you. Thanks for doing what you're doing.
My pleasure. Lisa, you're up next, please, and tell us about your Shane, his life and passing, please.
Thanks, Mark and Lynn, for having me on tonight. So my boy Shane was born January 18th in 2004. He is my only born child. He was just a sparkling ray of light from the time he entered the physical world and lit up a room with his smile and his energy. So much exuberance and so much vitality. I remember when he was in preschool, I would have the teacher call me and say, you know, Shane is screaming all the time and he's going to get kicked out if he doesn't stop screaming. And I'm like, well, is he in pain? Is he angry? Is he hurt? He goes, no, he screams in joy. And he screams when he's happy. And it just, you know, it's just piercing to our ears. And, you know, we can't have him do that. And I just said, I don't know how to contain my boy's happiness. But that pretty much carried over throughout all of Shane's life. He had so many friends and so many best friends, and was so caring and compassionate and was just a bright, sparkly light. I was always just so excited to think about. I considered he was pretty much my mini me, and had so many of a lot of my same characteristics, a lot of the same characteristics of my mom, and yeah, I always just was so excited to see what he was going to do with his life. And Shane transitioned January 25th of 2020. It was a week after his 16th birthday. He was home here in our house, and it was a Friday night, and he was staying home to play video games with his friends online. And I remember checking in on him around like 8:30 or so, and he, you know, he was a sophomore in high school. He had had some experimentation with weed, with marijuana his freshman year, and I was trying to drug test him and battle it back. And so I went in to check in on him, and I said, you know, hey, you know, play until 12:30. And my mom's senses were up, and I'm like, something's going on. I'm looking around the room, couldn't quite put my finger on it. But my husband and I went to bed later on that night, and I could hear Shane around midnight making some noise in the kitchen. And I yelled down to say, Shane, you know, be quiet. We're trying to sleep up here. And finally he like did it again. And I said, you know, come up to our room. And so he came up the stairs, and unbeknownst to me, he had eaten a really large amount of hallucinogenic mushrooms. And when I asked him, you know, what are you doing? What's going on? He didn't respond. I flipped the light on, and his eyes were just as big as saucers. And he couldn't respond to me. He was just looking right through me. And I'm thinking, okay, what did you take? I'm asking, did you take mushrooms? Did you take acid? And in my head, I was thinking, okay, I'm going to make him some food and maybe some music and take him to look on the stars and try and help him through this journey he's on. And then all of a sudden, like a light switched on, and he started talking, and he's talking about, I'm talking to God. I know the meaning of life. He's telling me that life is all about love, and love is life. And it's all so clear. And he's right here with me, and life is about love. And he's just iterating over and over. And I have him in my arms, and he's still not responding to me. He's just talking over and over about God and love and life and the meaning of life. And I say to my husband, we need to go take him to the emergency room. Like, I don't know how to help him here. And so as we got up to get dressed, Shane all of a sudden stood upright and ran down our stairs screaming, I've got this, I've got this. And as I chased after him, he hit our main floor and ran off of our deck with his arms wide open, saying, I've got this, and leapt off our deck and plunged 40 feet into our backyard. And I called 911, and my husband ran downstairs to the backyard, and he passed away in my husband's arms while 911 and the first responders were coming. And yeah, it was a crazy experience. And for my husband, whose little girl passed away from cancer at the age of 3, right before I met him, Shane was the second child to die in his arms. And you know, for me, I look at my poor husband and I'm like, you know, like to be able to hold your child while he's transitioning to the other side, to be able to surround him in love, is where we all want to be. And I want to die in your arms. I'm sorry, but that's where I would love to be. So I have a lot of gratitude for the fact that we were able to, you know, Shane really made us a part of his transition, and that we could be there with him when he took his final breath. And I ended up speaking to a medium the next morning. A friend of mine's sister-in-law had just started practicing. And the first thing she said was that Shane was holding the hand of a little girl with red hair who was about 3 years old, and that she was so excited to have him there with her and was showing them all around heaven. And my husband and my stepson just kind of looked over and went, oh, you know, oh my gosh, that's Kira.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And so many of the children who have passed, Elizabeth and I were talking, we agreed about 1/3 suicide and or overdose. And one of the clear reasons is these more evolved kids, it's tough to be on earth. And so they're seeking ways to numb out or to get higher or feel closer to the source that they remember so strongly. So no judgment from HPH, and certainly no judgment from God and the spiritual support team. Well, tell us, how did you find out about helping parents heal then, and how were they able to help you in the beginning?
You know, it took me about a year to find Helping Parents Heal. Another mom in my community lost her son to an accident related with psychedelics, with mushrooms. And she and I had always tried to connect, but we didn't quite get there for almost about 9 months, 10 months. And then we finally got together right at Shane's birthday. She came to Shane's big birthday hike that we did up in the mountain behind us. And she said, well, you know, surely you found Helping Parents Heal. And I said, no, I haven't. And for me, I was raised by a very metaphysical mother in Los Angeles, and every birthday was a psychic medium reading, astrology reading, and a crystal. So she's like, this is right up your alley. You know, they believe, and they believe in what you believe. And so I was so excited. The previous groups that I had tried to find were always talking about how 10 years into it, they're just still devastated. And, you know, I had Shane talking to me from the very beginning saying, like, I'm right here. You know, I'm right with you. And I had done some work with my mother, who fought cancer for 10 years while Shane was in utero, learning how to talk to each other after she transitioned. And the minute that night after my mom passed away, I connected with her right away. And I was seeing her and talking to her and hugging her. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we're doing this. We're connected. And I said, don't you miss us? And she said, everyone I've ever loved is here with me, including yourself, which is how we're talking. So I kind of think that Shane, you know, being in utero when I was doing all of this work to establish this connection, you know, kind of tapped in right away, and was just right there.
Wow, what an expanded view of reality. Good job. So tell us about your group, please, and what do you consider to be strengths of it?
Our Helping Parents Heal group that we've started. We are pretty new. We just started in January, although Babette and Kate and myself had an intention of putting it together earlier than that. There's definitely a lot of need in our community. We already have 36 members, and I think I just saw 3 more people sign up this afternoon to join us. There is so much loss in our kids in this community, and to be able to, you know, gather, and we're gathering in person right now. We haven't quite figured out the hybrid, but we range from 3 months to 13 years in our experience. And I think that that it's just been really supportive and a great, you know, a great place to start.
Well, it sounds like it. Can you lean to the left just for a moment so I can see his picture a little more clearly?
Oh yeah. So here I'll give. So I loved that the pins that Helping Parents Heal gave out to all of us. So I carry Shane's pin with me, and whenever anyone wants to see him, that's my boy right there.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine him with screams of joy.
Yeah.
I love what you said in the beginning. He was a sparkling ray of light, and really, that's what we all are. But you know,
Yeah.
I just don't remember. So, what have you learned in the years since about how you can best sense his presence?
You know, lights is really one of the first ways Shane started communicating with us. My husband's a video game designer, and while Shane was still here, we were always fighting to get the screens out of his room and the phones and laptops and all of that. And so he ended up making Shane this one-dimensional game on this LED strand around his room called Surfers versus Zombies. And the surfers were blue and purple, and the zombies were red, and they'd fight. And sometimes you'd turn into a zombie and turn red, or the surfer would win, you'd turn blue. And big tails of meteors would come in and turn everybody into zombies. And then rainbows would come in and hail everybody back to surfers. And so he made this game so that Shane could sit there at night and see something. And so 2 days after Shane transitioned, we were lying in Shane's room, and we're looking up, and all of a sudden there's 10 rainbows going by, which I've only ever seen 3 before. And I said, Jack, like, where are all these rainbows coming from? And he said, I didn't code it that way. You know, this is Shane coming through for us. So the lights have been a big source of going in. Jack then refigured the lights to where everybody in the family has their own color, and Shane's stronger and faster, and his daughter Kira's in there too. And so we can go in there and he can give us just a whole light show. And then lights around the house when we're having conversations will blink on and off. And if he's saying something he likes, it'll definitely strobe the light. You know, he definitely communicates that way. Through music, through songs. The same song, Dancing in the Moonlight, the 70s song, comes on everywhere we are, from, you know, airports to Costco to Target to the radio. You know, that's something that Shane always can somehow get into the playlist of wherever we are.
Yeah.
And then, you know, rainbows is his big sign with us as well too.
Yeah, what a great song. Thank you. What are 3 things you've learned that you'd like to pass on to other parents, Lisa?
You know, I think, you know, for the moms that have joined our group and the friends of mine that have lost their kids close to me, self-care, you know, is the hardest thing I think to do when in the early stages of just knowing that it's like whatever you can do, from napping to taking walks in nature to getting massages or whatever you can do to take care of yourself. You know, putting your own oxygen mask first on is critical, I think, and helpful. The second thing would be to feel all the feelings, to, you know that every feeling will pass eventually and lessen a little bit, but to be able to know that to cry when you need to cry, and be angry when you need to be angry, and to be, you know, joyful and happy is okay too. And I guess my third thing would be just to try to find the joy, whether or not it's in a cup of tea or in a sunrise, or in outside in nature, whatever you could do, just every day to acknowledge something that brings you a little relief is key.
Excellent, thank you. So how about sharing, please, your belief about whether there is a timing and meaning behind Shane's passing?
I early on, Shane came through to me and told me that I should read this Journey of Souls book from Michael Newton. And so I got it, and I had a hard time, you know, getting into it. I kept falling asleep to the Audible. And then I'm like, Shane, I just can't get into it. And he, you know, said, go read, you know, chapter 11 and 12, like life selection and choosing a body, I think the name of the chapters were. And that really just resonated with me and my husband on the fact that we do, and then following up with Robert Schwartz's Soul's Plan, and just knowing that we're all together here, that we agreed to this. I look at the work that my husband and I are doing now, and the reason we're still here, and that helping parents along their way and giving them tools to connect with their kids is what we're supposed to be doing.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Lisa. Awesome.
Thank you.
Babette, tell us about your Daniel, please.
Okay, my Daniel was born May 3rd, 1991. And I have to say his date because he loved his birthday so much. He had a difficult birth, actually, and there was a really interesting thing that happened. During that delivery, his heart rate started to go down. And so, everyone rushed out of the room to prepare for an emergency C-section. And while I was laying there, this nurse came in, and she had not been working with me, but she just put her hands on my stomach, and and Daniel's heart rate started to go up, and it went all the way up to normal. And then she just turned around and left, and she never said anything. I don't think we said anything to each other. So everyone came running in to do the surgery, and they looked at the monitor and they said, "What happened?" And I just said, "Well, I think this angel just came in or something. I don't know." It was just amazing. But anyway, he did actually have trouble after he was born. He didn't breathe for a while. And they kept trying to intubate him, and they couldn't they couldn't do that. And then finally they did, and he survived. And but I will say that I kind of felt like we almost lost him that day, but he survived, and he was perfectly healthy and beautiful and had a wonderful childhood. He had a brother that came 2 years later, and Joseph became his very best friend, and they shared their lives together and were best friends, throughout Daniel's whole life. But when Daniel was 3, he came into me and he said, "Mommy, I want to go back to God." And it totally freaked me out, But and so I just tried to tell him that. I said, "Daniel, you're going to have a long, wonderful life. And, when you're a really old man, you can go back to God." But, he said that a few times. And so I was always on the alert with Daniel. I had this feeling, that I just was trying to hold on to him, But he had a beautiful life. He went on, and he loved being out in the wilderness and hiking, and we went camping all the time. And he became a camp counselor and took young teenagers on adventures like rafting and that sort of thing. But when he was in middle school, he started to experience anxiety and depression, and he started to self-medicate with pot. And over the years, that sort of grew into other drugs. And he would say, "Mom, I just want to be like all the other kids," because they were happy, like they were like Shane, he just so anyway, after he graduated from college, and he had a wonderful group of friends, and had a lot of love. But when he was 25, he did have an overdose. So that's how it finally, ended.
Yeah, and as we mentioned, so common. First of all, thank you for sharing that story about what perhaps was an angel to come in and raise the heart rate. I love those kinds of stories. And thank you for bringing up your warnings, call it, to kind of get you prepared. And parents may want to look at your life and see if you had some warnings like that, precognitive experiences that help prepare you a little bit, much as you can. So tell us, please, Babette, how did you find out about helping parents heal?
I didn't find out about it for quite a while. I had a friend who lost her son about a year later, and she's the one that told me about it. And so I joined right away, and I found Suzanne Giesman, and I thought it was just such an amazing thing for me because I started hearing from Daniel right away. And I was talking to people about it, and especially started out with my family, and they're Christians, and so I thought, oh, they'll believe, they'll get this because they have a belief system about God and all of that, and so, but it was actually just the opposite. I mean, I said, I'm talking to Daniel, and I'm getting these messages from him, and I'm writing everything down, and they said, I know you want that to be true, but that's not true, and they were worried about me that I was kind of losing it, and so it was such a relief to finally meet people that believed me and that we had the same experiences. It was just a really amazing experience, and it's been great. So
Yeah, a lot of people aren't aware. I went to Methodist Theological School. There are over 10,000 different denominations and cults within Christianity. So just because somebody's a Christian doesn't mean you know how they're going to believe. My own brother's church believes that when you die, you're in the ground until a resurrection. So when I talk to him about the soul phone and, parents having visits from their kids, he's like, oh, that's just wishful thinking because they're in the ground. I'm like, okay, we're just going to agree to disagree. So we heard about your group, but tell us about how you can best sense Daniel's presence.
I just felt it immediately, and I'd kind of forgotten about this, but when I was pregnant with Daniel, I took this class at a university, and it was about psychology, different levels of consciousness, and I ended up writing a paper about communicating with your unborn child. So, and I was doing that at the time, and but I mean, years went by, and I didn't even think about it, but I always felt very close with him, and right after he transitioned, he would come to me and be talking to me, and at first I thought it was just me, and then he would tell me to go do things that would prove that it really was him. And so then I just started writing everything down, and I have all of these journals that are just full, and so I'm so glad that I've kept the journals because I can open a page and then there's a message from him that's just amazing. He was always saying just so many profound things, like that kind of like what Shane was saying, actually. Like he said, Mom, love is all there is, and love is the only thing that's real, and things like that. And that he was telling me that he could be in all of these different places at the same time, and at that time I hadn't heard that, but now of course I hear it all the time. But he just was such a wise teacher, and so that, and then he left just amazing signs too. I mean, one of the first ones was I couldn't find my cell phone, and so I went out looking for it, and I walked down the hall. My friend Gretchen was there with me, and it wasn't too long after he had passed, so I found my cell phone on the rail right in front of Daniel's room, and there was a little tree frog sitting right on it, and just this little tiny frog. And Daniel had this light that he had used his whole life. He loved it. It's one of those that spins, and it makes reflect, designs on the ceiling, and it had frogs on it. So I started screaming for Gretchen. I said, Gretchen, Daniel's here. She comes in and she sees the frog, and of course I didn't think that Daniel was the frog, but I knew that somehow he made that happen, and then it never stopped. I've seen so many hundreds of frogs, and on Daniel's birthday, when we invited all of his friends over, and there were frogs on his friend's chest, and they were on the wall, and they were climbing up the TV, and it was so amazing. And then once when I was just sitting outside, and I was feeling, one of those desperate moments when, I just had to have something from him. So I said, can you just bring me a frog? And I said, it's not the right season, so it's probably not going to happen, but maybe something. And so I just got up and I went into the outdoor kitchen there and I opened the cabinet, and this frog jumped out onto my leg right in that moment. And it was, of course, I'm screaming again, it's just been magical. So many things. And just, he's very fun.
Yeah. Well, be careful what you ask for, huh? Yeah. So
Yeah.
share with us, please, Babette, what's your belief about there being a timing and a meaning behind his passing?
Well, my grandmother and my mother both had near-death experiences back when nobody talked about it. So I grew up with knowing about that and hearing their stories. So I knew there was meaning behind everything. But I had not really even heard about the life plans before we come in. But when I started with Helping Parents Heal, I did hear Sarah Rubel speak about that a lot. And she is amazing. And she and her son have worked together, and he's taught her so many things, and she's so clear on it and believes it so strongly. I love to listen to her, and she has helped me, accept that. And so it just makes sense to me, now. And it also is such a blessing because, if you think that there's a plan, then that it's easier to believe that you couldn't have actually changed anything. And I think that people whose children have struggled with addiction or suicide, the parents sometimes really take on a lot of guilt and blame. And so if you believe that there's a plan behind it, and that we planned this together, then you can let go of that. So yeah, I do believe it.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Your energy and your love is equal to your colorful scarf.
Thank you.
Take care. Kate, tell us about your Warren, please, his life and passing.
I think we might have lost Kate.
I'm here.
Oh,
Okay.
where are you?
She is here.
Okay.
Hi.
Oh,
Yeah, so good to be here. My son, Warren, he was born July 20th, 2001. And he was a twin. He was an in vitro baby. And I always say that I got a bonus baby doing in vitro. I had twins because of in vitro. So felt really blessed after trying for 4.5 years to conceive. And then I had twins. Warren died just over 5 years ago, February 8th of 2019. And he chose to leave by suicide. So suicide is a very complicated thing for a parent, because sometimes we think that they chose to leave us, or that we did something or we missed something, we could have done better. And there's so much guilt attached, I'm sure, with other types of deaths as well. And I try not to say loss, because I heard Mark say that we never lose them. So I'm mindful of that. But I came to realize that that he didn't leave me. And almost as soon as he transitioned, he showed up in the light. I didn't really have to search for him. I was in a deep despair, and he came to me immediately. So, but in life, he was a really active, joyful kid, bouncy little boy. I used to call him Tigger because he just bounced everywhere. He was just joyful, really happy, and very athletic. He played soccer from a really young age, and then got into tennis and played on the tennis team in high school and was one of the top singles players on the team. And he was a natural athlete. He's also a wonderful friend, and always very inclusive to the younger brothers of his friends, and was just a really sweet guy. And my kitty agrees. She just came in and said meow, so she agrees. He was just a really, really sweet guy, and really loved his pets, and he loved animals. He just was a really sweet soul, and something that Mark had said about suicide deaths and those who self-medicate and how they're such sensitive souls. That resonates with me, because I feel that that's really true in so many cases. He was a very sensitive soul, and he was sort of transition from one activity to another, and socially awkward, and that made high school really hard. And so I think that's why he started to withdraw, was because of the social anxiety that he had. So he took solace in video games, and well, he really enjoyed them, but then that's where he felt safe, is playing online with his friends and that kind of thing. And he disconnected more and more over the years, and it was slow and happening right before our eyes, but we really didn't understand that he was in crisis and that he had depression. Typical teenage boy, sort of grumpy at times, and a little irritable, and didn't really want to hang out with us, those kind of things. And he was sleep deprived, but outwardly he was doing everything to live his life. And he was trying really hard to get it right, but he was trying to do it on his own without asking for help. And he lost his way. So I immediately got into mental health advocacy and suicide prevention awareness and advocacy. And I know that he is doing the work with me, and we are a great team, always have been. But yeah, I think I kind of answered all the questions in my in the first one.
You're doing great. And by the way, for parents who have had a child pass by suicide or know someone who has, you can see my article number 4 at soulproof.com. So how did you find out about helping parents heal?
So initially, there was a group in Santa Rosa that I wanted to join, and for some reason I could never make their Zoom meetings, and then they disbanded, but I kept in touch with the woman who led the group, and I found out that they were meeting at this place in Sonoma, just having these discussions and meeting and having lunch. And so I started meeting with them, and it was sort of an informal group, but the women had been in Helping Parents Heal initially. So I had that connection with these lovely ladies, and then later was approached by Babette and Lisa, who were looking for a third person to join the Marin affiliate group. And I hadn't actually been to an official meeting yet, and ended up going to the conference. I was invited to go, and that was my first experience with HPH, was through the conference. So that was like a really big introduction. So
yeah, that's jumping in both feet first. So tell us, how have you learned, and so other parents can pick up some tips, how can you best sense Warren's presence?
Like I was saying before, he appeared in the light early on. I was in a deep despair, and somehow I just felt this love coming to me and filling me up. And my son died in my home. I found him. He and his twin sister, his twin sister and I'm still living in my home, and a lot of people are surprised by that, but I always felt him in the light, and I didn't remember. I try not to go back to that horrific day, and so he just showed me that he was in the light. He was with me whenever I would talk about my purpose. This light would just kind of like shine on me, sort of like a spotlight, like, oh, it happened several times. And people look at me and they go, "There's a spotlight on you." And I'd say, "Yeah, that's Warren." Just letting me
Okay,
know.
so to be clear, other people can see the light as well.
Other people have seen it. Yeah. As a
As
matter of
well.
fact, yeah, it was incredible. I was sitting on, and this is the signs, I guess, kind of going into one of the other questions, but I was sitting in between these two women, two friends on the couch that the day of his celebration of life. It was our reception at the home. And I said something about, I know my purpose. I know that I need to be working in advocacy, and I need to share my story about Warren, and that it was a suicide. And then all of a sudden this beam of light just came and was shining on me. And my friends just went, "Did you know that there's this light shining on you? There's a spotlight on you." Yeah, it was pretty remarkable.
Wow, no wonder your group is growing so quickly between Lisa and Jack's video games and your lights coming out of nowhere. That's a lot.
Yeah.
So tell us, what are some things that three things you've learned that you'd like to pass on to other parents?
So I hear people say a lot, that they are with us in spirit, and to to believe that they never really left us. They're always with us. And I think that's probably the most important message that, thing that I would want to say to parents. Because when we talk about the loss, we lost their human form. They're still alive in spirit. And when we get caught up in thinking of the loss of our child, then we go into that deep grief. And I realize that when I think about losing him that way, I'm going into my human, emotion. And when I think about spirit, I think, well, that it's okay. Like, I think not okay that he died the way he did, but like that. Anyway, I don't know if that answers the question necessarily.
Well, what we in HPH say is it was his ticket back home. It's just another way to return home. So yeah, it's something anyone would choose, but it happens, and we certainly can understand it. They just can't do it anymore.
Exactly. And then also to that point, the soul contract thing, I don't talk about that to many people, especially early on, because that's a lot to grasp. But I've heard several people talk about that here. So I think it's safe to address it. But I often think, well, why would I choose that? Why would I choose to lose my son that way and everything? And then I think, well, I was in spirit at that time. So I didn't remember what it was like to feel the pain of losing someone as a human, because I was in spirit. If that makes any sense, I think, wow, okay, I didn't know. I wouldn't have chose it if I was human. I was a spirit.
Well, it's a big topic. And like I say, article number 25 discusses it. My view is that in spirit, before you come to earth, no, you knew it would break your human heart, but out of love, you were willing to go into that potential scenario, knowing that there could be so many gifts, so much growth from it. I mean, look how you've awakened. It's hard to awaken while you're on earth, but his passing in part helps you do that.
Yeah.
Well, we need to wrap. So share with us, please, what's your belief about there being a timing and a meaning behind it?
Right. So yeah, soul contract.
All right.
definitely working together, and they're towards the greater purpose, of helping others, to especially those who are struggling with depression and loss of hope, to let them know that, you know, there is purpose and meaning in life. And, you know, even young people can find purpose and meaning in life, you know, anyone can. And I think that's really what keeps us here, is to find our meaning and purpose in life and to help them find it.
Beautiful. And after working with so many parents with kids that passed by suicide or ODs, you know, a lot of it's the accumulation of chemicals, heavy metals, nutritional deficiencies, etc., and affects their brains. And then, you know, they are depressed and they are anxious and so on. So I vote to let's create a happy end to this story and honor all these kids' lives who are quite possibly helping humanity by what they went through. Well, thank you for sharing it, Kate. Wonderful.
Wonderful discussion. Thank you.
And thanks to all of you very much. What a beautiful way to end this. I so deeply honor all of you, and I take great hope and inspiration from getting to know each one of you a little more. Lynn, how would you like to wrap things up here?
Well, I'm a little sad to be wrapping everything up. It's been an honor to be with all you parents, and thank you to all the participants who have been with us every night. And thank you to you, Mark. You've been amazing, and just sending love to each and every one of you and your beautiful children. So thank you for sharing your children with us.
Take care. God bless. And remember, if you need anything, let us know. We're here for you. We've got what you need.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark and Lynn.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Love you all. At the conference.
Thank you.
See you at the conference.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Bye, Lynn.
Bye, Cheryl. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Thanks for being
I'm
our number
sad.
one fan.
I'm sad it's over.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll come back again.
Yeah. We're always getting new affiliate leaders and caring listeners, so maybe we will be back.
Yeah, I'm about ready to volunteer something else for Lynn.
Okay.
Get out of here before I get
All
in
right.
trouble.
All right. Bye, everybody.